results are in. Welcome to the The-Hua channel, everybody. I'm The-Hua. The results are in, and yeah, things are kind of, I wouldn't say crazy, but we'll see what happens. I figured post up this video that not the next day, but the day after. I figure I'd let everyone get their stress out. But I decided, for this video, I'd rather kind of do two things in one. So I'm gonna do a quick review. Well, I'm gonna do a review later on this thing, but kind of a little bit of a storytelling for you guys, especially those that are quite upset. There's a lot of happy people right now, and there's quite a bit of mad and frustrated people right now. But 'tis life, right? So I guess the best thing to do is kind of harken back to my first video in terms of the divide that's happening inside our country. I want to make a video that starts bridging that gap and having people get along again. And I think the number one thing in order to do that is to get rid of the anger and the fear of what's going to come to the future. Now, me being a musician, I have learned over the course of my lifetime what I like and what I don't like, especially when it comes to music. But there came a time when I put the music down. And during that time, I became very, very angry. I became angry with myself. I became angry with the world. I became angry with the fact that, I felt like I was just lied to. I had aspirations and hopes and dreams, and I wanted to be recognized as a musician at the time. But my compass was kind of pointing in the wrong direction during that time. So I want to, especially reach out to those that are extremely frustrated, and especially the youthful people, to try to take that anger and frustration, because lashing out at people or lashing out on the internet is really not going to do anyone any good. In fact, more or less likely you're just going to get trolled, and that's only going to frustrate you even further. And no one really grows to love each other or learns to grow with each other. So I figured, what the heck, I'll make this video kind of like a review video and whatnot. But first I want to cut to this clip, and this is kind of a perfect example of how I see how I see things nowadays, being as a musician. The world kind of happens around you, and you just try to make the best of it. So I guess what I want to extend out to the youth is, and those that are extremely frustrated, maybe not just the youth, but anyone that's frustrated right now, is take that anger and frustration and hone it and focus it into something that could be a more betterment, not only for yourself, but for others around you. Here, let's cut to this clip real quick. You see, a dude is playing piano and there's chaos going all around him. He ain't part of it, but he's adding his surrealness to it. The happy tragedy that we can sometimes see ourselves falling into. I, for one, fell into it when I decided to put down music for a time. I was a bass player, and I didn't see my aspirations fulfilling as it did. And much like, for instance, the movie SLC Punk, um, I realized I was grown up. I was an adult, and I had to do adult things. So I decided, well, just get myself a corporate job and work myself up that ladder. It's probably around, I think, 2012, 2013, 2014, around there. Uh, but I found myself, I started out, the other thing I liked was video games. Um, and I started becoming a game tester for Microsoft, working for one of the vendors that worked with Microsoft. But I had access to the Xbox One, or I like to say the Xbone, um, before, like, a year and a half before it was released. And I made due diligence. I started off working 8 hours, and the next thing I know, I'm working 12 hours, and I'm wearing, I'm dressing nicely. I'm not stinking up the place, or, not clean shaven and whatnot. And I got the attention of the higher ups, and so they hired me on. And next thing I know, I'm a test engineer, and I'm supervising, you know, between 20 to 100 people. Uh, and the range, like, I was probably around my 30s at that time, so the range in that was just fresh out of high school to about 25, and then there was sprinkles of people that were my age, but they were kind of at the same level I was. um, but during that time I got angry. I was angry at myself, I was angry at the world, and I was disappointed in the world, and I just kept on getting angrier and angrier. Every day was just, I was looking at I wasn't playing video games. I was looking at lines and lines and lines and lines of data, test cases, and figuring out which, if this test case was a faulty, or the tester did something wrong or hit the wrong button or something like that. And then compacting those spreadsheets into something that was feasible for the client, Microsoft, to work. I mean, granted, I worked at the studios, I worked at the Microsoft campus, but I was still working up to 12 to 16-hour days, and it was almost every single day. I gained weight. I didn't have any money because all my money went off to food that I was eating in order to work there. I basically living at work. And then one day, I didn't even have an outlet for this anger. And then one day I came across this video of this guy walking out in the middle of the desert. And he started playing Spanish guitar. And I thought to myself, my gosh. When I was in high school, I always wanted to learn that art. I always wanted to learn that music. And so I went ahead and took, I was just astounded. I'm like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn that. Somehow this passion of fire, this anger that I had, all of a sudden got rerouted to something completely different that I didn't even think was in me in the first place. So after that video, and right when I got out of work, I left work early, I said, you know what? I'm going to Guitar Center. So here's the review. I went to Guitar Center, and I got myself this guitar. This guitar is a Lucero LC100. The company themselves, they started out in the 80s and whatnot, but gradually grew. And I found this guitar, and it was only $100, man, $100. And one thing I learned about music is you have to learn with what you got, because you're always broke as a time as a musician. So you use the tools to your best abilities. So I got this guy, and you can see the shape that it's in right now. But this was back in like 2013. And the moment I played it, the moment I got, and one more thing. I went to this awesome shop called Rosewood Guitars. They're not a sponsor or anything, but over in Seattle, if you're looking for high quality classical or flamenco guitars, I highly recommend checking them out. But I went over to them and I went ahead and got this book, Juan Guitar, Solo Flamencos. Now, at the time, I had no idea what I was doing. Apparently, this was it's a classical guitar. And there is a difference between classical and flamenco guitars. It's about the timbre, about the construction of it. And I can get that into it another time. But when I first got into it and I played the first note, just figuring that out took me about 20 minutes. But next thing I knew, I was like, I all this frustration, all of a sudden I found this outlet. Like, I'm going to put my frustration in this guy. And I'm going to learn. And in the course of being frustrated and impatient, not just with myself, but, with the world around me and stuff, all of a sudden I found this outlet. And next thing I know, I'm thinking, over the course of a year or two, I'm like, I really want to learn this, and I wanted to be part of my life again. I wanted to be a musician again. Now, as you can see, it's not in perfect shape. You see this guy, I played it so much that you look at the fretboard here, there's actually, well, you can't really see it, but there's actually divots of it. Plus, it's been banged up a lot. There's a scratch right here and a couple dings and stuff. I mean, relatively taken care of, but during that time when you're drinking and you're with your roommates, accidents are bound to happen. But yeah, I just kept playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it. I would start off with, just spending an hour on the first song of this book. I'm a more self-taught person. Some people have to get teachers and whatnot, but I like, exercising myself and my mind and pushing that. And next thing I know, my frustrations started leaving me. That, and I also got tired of working at Microsoft, and I went to do a plethora of other different kind of jobs. But this was the thing that stayed with me. So I guess for what I want to extend to you guys is that, yes, you may be frustrated and there's a lot of anger happening around, and there's a lot of people that are, taking advantage of that, trolling people and stuff. And I'm just going to say, guys, knock it off. Take your angst between each other and put it to something that you can bring light into, something that's into the chaos that we live in. Much like that piano player did. And that guy was pretty good. But yeah, so this is a Lucero, $100 at Guitar Center. If you want to, start learning classical or flamenco. Maybe music's not your thing, I don't know. But the idea is to find a hobby that can become your passion. Eventually, I would watch TV and I'd just be just noodling on it, getting my hand familiarized with the fretboard. So, go try that. Figure out something, and one day it'll just hit you. I'm not saying you're to seek it out or to search on it, but just take a moment and take a step back from all this hoopla of the politics in the world and of the vitriol that surrounds us, especially with the internet. Get off of the video games or the social media. Get off of that and find that hobby that you just absolutely enjoy, and it also pisses you off too. And that's the other thing. You got to find that hobby or that passion that also frustrates you as well. Maybe it's art, figuring out how to make this perfect art, or sculpting, or any kind of thing, glass blowing, But you got these guys. Well, just one of these guys, but you've got legs. You've got a body. Do something with it. Don't just surround your mentality with what other people are thinking right now. Take a step back, breathe in, and exhale out when you find that thing that will calm your nerves, calm your the syndrome that is plaguing this nation, I guess, that is just plaguing people. So with that, I'm gonna leave you with the actual playing of me. Keep in mind, it was pretty much off the cuff. I just wanted to just play something, kind of showcase what this guitar can sound like. I haven't changed the strings in, gosh, probably 2 years. That, and after I think about 8 years into it, I bought an actual flamenco guitar from that Rosewood guitar place, and now I practice 2 hours every day. I wake up, and in order to set my mood right, the vibration, your frequency, your inner frequency or whatnot, do that first in the morning. Because I guarantee you do that, that will help you guide the rest of the attitude in your day. Yeah, you may hate your job. Granted, I hated my job too. I worked at jobs where I had to be there at 7 in the morning. I would still wake up at 5 to just play 30 minutes of this thing, just to turn on my brain, turn on my synapses, and not be pissed off at everybody in the world. So with that, yeah, find what you want to do, find that passion that will help rekindle that fire, and then alleviate that pain and frustration that you're feeling on the inside about what the world is doing to you. And you'll find yourself changing for the better. So with that, I'll leave you to the song that I'm going to play for you. Again, it's off the cuff. Haven't changed the strings in years. This guy is actually dug in so much that this string buzzes a whole lot. And yeah, I rarely ever play this guitar. So, which is interesting because when you switch to a different guitar, the feel of it's completely different. So that's a whole nother thing. But anyways, thank you for joining The-Hua. And I hope you have a good rest of the week. And we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy. Peace. Oh, and yeah, you like, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'm going to be trying to set up like a buy me a coffee here soon. But I'll have the link and all that stuff anyways. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.